Hello and welcome back to That's What He Said. Today, we're not going to talk about the least we can do, not what's good enough, not what's the least I can get away with, but what's the most I can do? That's our question. I'm sure it surprises none of you because you know my dad is super hardworking. And I think this question flips your mindset, at least it flips mine, and that's what I want to talk about because it shifts you from settling to stretching. And that's a big thing for setting dreams and goals, etc. And not just from coasting, but something I'm very passionate about, which is creating. And you can't create when you're just coasting, at least stuff that you're really passionate about. And passion obviously isn't just coasting. And loving isn't just coasting. And playing it safe changes to playing it full out, putting your heart into it, living in that passion, and understanding what makes things great. What's the most I can do? Let's talk about it. So I think our culture is in this challenge against mediocrity. I think it's one of the greatest dangers in life, and it isn't just failure. It's being mediocre. It's staying in that comfort where it's easy, familiar, predictable, and man, is it so much easier to just be there. It's so much more fun sometimes, but that's not what grows us or stretches us at all. My dad used to remind me that the call that God places on your life isn't meant to keep you comfortable, it's meant to help you grow. And growth by nature isn't comfortable. It requires stretching, effort, and even pain sometimes. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work at it with your whole heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters." That verse doesn't say, hey, just do the minimum and God will be like, nice, awesome, that's what I wanted you to do. It says, and it calls us to give everything. When you give and you give your best, the best quality of your work, the best time, etc., the best intention with your work, you are allowing and you are pouring your heart into your calling. And now it's an act of worship. What's the most I can do? What's the best way to worship? Be intentional, work hard at that, and put your whole stinking heart in it. That's what's the important part. I think doing the most that you can do, really thinking, what is all that I can give? And I know last week we talked about the 0-100 principle, thinking about giving 100% and expecting nothing in return. Doing the most you can do doesn't mean burning yourself out by any means or hustling endlessly to an unhealthy amount, but it means doing everything you can with faith. Not just with effort. And again, I'm talking about the belief, not me. I'd love to do stuff with y'all, but it's about the belief in this one. Sometimes the most courageous thing that we can do is just take the next step when we can't see the whole path. I know as somebody who would probably be labeled a control freak, maybe is labeled that now, I think that's huge for me because I tend to get into that comfort of wanting to control things. I want things to be done my way. As my PI would tell you, nobody does it better than me. That is not true at all. Not even in the slightest is that true, but I sometimes have that mindset, and you might also have that mindset, or you might think ABC, whatever it may be. But stepping out in faith means believing that God's already working, already has the victory over the parts that we can't see. There's a verse that Josiah used a couple vision days ago. It's probably more than a couple now, but I'm going to just say a couple. And I think about him every single time I hear it now. It's Joshua 1:9, and it calls us, it says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." That's not a suggestion, folks. Hate to say it for myself too. It's a command, it's not a suggestion, because courage isn't the absence of fear, and I think we know that. But courage is the decision to move forward anyway. It's saying, God, I don't know. And guys, I don't know how this will work out. I can't say that if you do these steps A, B, C, D, it'll work out. But I know that my trust is in God, and I encourage you that, the biggest thing you can do is trust. What's the most I can do? You could trust. That'd be hard. You could surrender. That's even harder. And, I trust God enough to give it my all. To look at things sometimes and be like, wow, I really don't want to do this, God. This is really uncomfortable. And it's not even comfortably uncomfortable. It's just plain out uncomfortable. This is type 3 fun. This is a whole new level of crap that I'm not willing to do. And he says, Haven't I proven myself time and time again? Yeah, dude, I guess, like you're so right. Be strong and courageous. That's a command for us. That's a command for me. I have to be strong and courageous. I have to not be afraid or let that win. I have to move forward in courage despite that fear, that whatever other emotion may come up. God is with us wherever we go. A big part, and I think something that is really, really rare in my dad, is that he lives with such an excellence and purpose and intentionality with his time management that I will always try to strive for. I've watched my dad live out this question, what's the most I can do? And his work, his relationships, because he's a hard worker. He just is. He is disciplined beyond belief. And I think the biggest way I've seen him do this is in the way he leads. He does not lead or do anything halfway, obviously. I think you all know that if you even have spent 5 seconds with him. He's not doing anything halfway. He shows up with full presence, full effort, full heart, even when he doesn't want to. And my mom is the same way. Like, she shows up, she could have the fear, she could have the doubt, she could have the exhaustion, the uncomfort, and she shows up. Full presence, full effort, full heart, full time, full empathy, etc. And they've both taught me that excellence isn't about perfection. It's about intention. It is. I hate to say it, y'all, because I say it like every episode. I'm a broken record at this point, but it is. It's about intention. It's about showing up every day asking, how can I serve? How can I add value? How can I grow? Etc. When you live from that mindset, you stop competing with others and start collaborating with them. We're not meant to be in competition with each other. We're meant to be a team. We're meant to collaborate. Add that partnership. When you stop asking, what's in it for me? You do maybe like an 80-20 of giving. Instead, you start asking, what can I contribute? You, one, give yourself the freedom to live a gratitude-forward life, and you give yourself the ability to give 100%, expect nothing in return. But also, that's where impact happens. It is. It's when you give the most you can give with what you've been given. Now, I know you guys know, but one of my favorite words is rise. And I think when you are giving the most you can, you have to rise to the call of that. Like, that is not something that is just like, okay, like whatever God says, la la la, whatever. Like, it's not easy. This is a very big task to give the most you can give. So rising to the call of that is super important. When you start living this way, this mindset, this perspective change, everything changes. Truly, every single thing changes. You begin to realize that your dreams, your ideas, your missions, they aren't just random, but they're divine assignments. And I think this becomes then the question of, am I rising to meet the moment God's placed me in? Because He didn't create you or me or my dad or my mom to just blend in. He created us to build, to believe, and to be bold. There's a verse in Ephesians, I think it's 3:20. Pastor Chris, if you're watching this, don't quiz me. But I know it talks about, He's able to do immeasurably more than we could ask or imagine. Truly, He is. And according to His power that's at work within us, it would be disobedient. It would be almost like a slap in the face to God if you weren't giving your gifts out. And give it like it's confetti. Give it like it's trick or treat and you're handing out candy. Give it like you have nothing to worry about. Give it like you have just an unlimited amount. Give your gifts, give your genius, give your talents. If we really trust and believe, if we really are acting in that strong, courageous mindset of what's the most I can give, our potential is then not capped by what we can do, but it's expanded by what God is doing and will continue to do in us. The real question isn't, can I do this? And I know I ask myself that a lot, like, can I do this? Is this okay? Am I able to do this? And I'm sure my dad has had that many times, even recent, I'm sure. But, the question is, am I willing to give my all and my trust to God with the rest? Am I willing to do that? Am I willing to have the strength, the courage, the trust, the ability to just say, yeah, you have it. So when I think about the question, what's the most I can do? I hear my dad's voice pushing me to not settle. Don't live in that mediocre mindset. Don't shrink. Don't play it small. This life, this calling, this opportunity that you have, it's not something to just survive. It's something to steward. I think doing the most you can, not to prove to yourself, anything, but to honor the one that has called you to be there, who made you, who knows you better than anybody, and who knows that the victory's already won. He has gone forth and won that victory. So you can show up fully in the spaces he's trusted you with. That's an honor and a privilege. And if we continue to idolize that fear, that comfort, instead of living with passion, excellence, and purpose, we're not able to do what he's created us for. Live in your genius, live in your gifts, and share those. Give them out like they're confetti. I'm telling you, there is freedom in that. What's the least I can do? Ask yourself, what's the most I can do? When you do that, you'll live in courage and faith and trust and passion, and you'll do it with your whole heart, because that's the most you can do. If you want to be like Eric Guy, that's the most you can do. Yeah. But that is something I have learned very, very, very intensely and intentionally from my dad, is what's the most he can do. He continues to step up to the plate and do that. He is truly one of the hardest working people I've ever seen, and will be one of the hardest working people I'll always see and remember and value and respect. Thank you, Dad, for showing me that mediocre is no match for being fully passionate in the things that you do. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you next week on That's What He Said. Peace.